Welcome back. This is James Duerr, your host of the James Duerr Show and the 7 Steps to Financial Success. We're going to continue our riveting interview with the Scott Kidd, who is the business and placement coach with the Entrepreneurial Source, and we're talking about franchises. We're talking about owning your own business. And again, owning your own business is what you want to have in life. You want to have some safe money, and if you follow the James Duerr 7 Steps, and you let us, and you meet with us, and you sit down with one of my qualified financial services professionals, we can get you where you have secure cash, you have guaranteed cash, you have cash that in case you had a bankruptcy, you know, your creditors couldn't get it, which is cash value life insurance, completely protected in the state of Texas. This wonderful product. But there's other products and other ways we can do to help you protect yourself. So you have the safe money that you can afford to leap out and really do your dream, which is owning your own business, being your own boss. And so we have Scott Kidd, who's the business and planning coach, and he with Entrepreneurial Source. And Scott, welcome back. And how do people, how do they get into franchises, or how do they even take the first step?
You bet. And hopefully they go through someone that gives them some assistance, because there's so much out there. But a lot of times people do what I'll call the shiny thing method,
right?
Which is they go into a business, maybe a fast food restaurant, or they think about elder care as example, and they see a lot of dollar signs there. And so they immediately say, well, I want to do that business because I like the product and I see a lot of money in it. That may be a fine business for them, but there's a lot more that goes into what makes a good business for someone than just dollars. Let's put it this way, you're not going to do a business unless it makes the kind of money that you would like to have as the business owner. But there's a lot more things that go into it. And so, in terms of looking at a business, I have about 95% of the people that I work with end up going in a business that they either didn't know existed before we started working together, or it's a business they had initial perceptions about, but once they learned about the business, they found it was actually a bit different than they thought, and they want to learn more because it's an interesting opportunity.
All right. That's where I always tell people in finances is, I'm 58, so I've been around a while. I've been through the dot-com crash. I've been through, the oil embargo. I've been through the Great Recession. I've been through all these things, and people can take a lot of, when they meet with me, I can open their eyes up to things that they're just not familiar with. They just haven't had those life experiences. So I share my life experiences with my clients, and it sounds like you do the same thing. You have all this experience and all this knowledge and franchise, and you can really kind of explore all the options with your clients that they've never, like you said, they never even knew about this particular franchise, never thought about getting into it, but it could be the ideal franchise for them.
You bet. I kind of go the opposite direction. Most people look at it from a money-making standpoint, and that's obviously part of the puzzle. But who are they? What do they want to accomplish? What do they want the business to accomplish for them? And what businesses actually do that? And a lot of times that's things that people don't think of. So as an example, not too long ago, I worked with a gentleman in Fort Lauderdale, and when I presented opportunities to him, one of the opportunities had the word grease in the name. And he was an accounting guy. He's like, look, I don't want to be dealing in grease all day.
Yeah.
I'll talk to them, but I'm pretty sure that I don't want to do this business.
Okay.
Well, what he found out when he talked to the business, learned about it, one is that business is required by local government. So what that meant is it gave him repeat business. It gave him a recession-resistant business, because as long as that business is in business, they needed his service.
Right.
The territory that he was going to acquire was actually being serviced by a couple of other franchisees. He was going to inherit that if he bought that business at the beginning.
Oh, wow. So they have an ongoing business.
Yeah, so it's kind of jumpstart for him. The franchisor, as with most franchises, they don't want him working in the grease. They want him managing the business and growing the business, not doing the business.
Okay.
And so all those things and more, it went from the thing he was positive he wasn't going to do to the thing he actually ended up doing.
Oh, wow.
And the moral of that story is that's a business he never would have done on his own if he went in, like, say, Entrepreneur Magazine.
All right.
Because it wouldn't be something that caught his eye, and he just never would have given it the time of day.
Okay. Well, so tell us some particular some examples. What type of business are there? I mean, what type of opportunities are there in franchise?
Well, like I said, there are pretty much anything you think of. There's a franchise for it, but there's a lot of service businesses. The nice thing about service businesses in general is that you don't have the high startup costs. Oftentimes, you can start those from your home. You don't have to have a location to start them. And so the return on investment or the time to get your money back is oftentimes much shorter. There's businesses that have a wide variety of margins. The food businesses are typically fairly toward the low end, but there are businesses out there that have 30, 40, or higher percent margins on the work that you do. So all those things kind of go into what makes sense for someone, and what businesses would be a good fit for someone, and their tolerance for those sorts of things.
So if I live in the San Antonio area, would I have to move to get a good franchise and look at opportunities, or could I do it here in the San Antonio area? Yeah,
not necessarily. I mean, there are franchises that are beginning or that are not too mature that still need franchisees here in the San Antonio market.
Okay.
As an example, I have a client that's actually going to start a business and the territory is San Antonio.
Wow.
So huge market, and it's going to be a long time before they would potentially run out of clients in San Antonio.
So you introduce your clients to new franchises that are coming out. So and they may not find that in a magazine, or how does that work?
Well, it's actually a mix. I work with some very well-known names that if I said the name, you would immediately recognize them, and then there's newer ones that are starting out that are looking for franchisees and trying to grow from California or Florida or wherever they began into the rest of the U.S.
Okay, so you're saying they in terms of capital, you can start out with lower capital, service type business from your house and build it, or if you have money you want to put in an investment, that you can get into these larger franchises, and I guess you do all the above. You do.
Yeah, and that again is kind of a misconception that you have to have a lot of money to start the business. It just depends on the business, and that's part of an individual's criteria in terms of what makes sense for them, because there's a wide variety of different investments levels for a business. And for some people, that fast food business may be a great fit for them.
Yeah. Well, again, this is James Duerr and James Duerr Show, and we have our special guest, Scott Kidd, with the Entrepreneur Source. So we're talking about franchise businesses. We're talking about, owning your own business, living the American dream. If you need any more information, you can always go to jamesduerr.com. That's JAMESDUERR.com, and we'll have the complete video there. We'll have the complete podcast there, and you can go back and listen to it. And so, give me some more examples. I want some concrete examples. If I want to go out, what if I'm an auto mechanic? Is there a franchise for that?
You bet.
And if I want to go to do, repair potholes, is there a franchise for that?
Yeah, let me just address that.
Okay.
So oftentimes people think they need to go in a business in the industry they've been in.
Right, so they have that background, they have that knowledge.
You bet. That sometimes is not the best way to approach it, because what you're buying is a systematized business. And if you go into the system having what I'll call special knowledge or knowledge of that industry,
right,
sometimes you're enticed to maybe make changes from the very get-go.
Okay.
I had a bookkeeping business. I'm looking at a bookkeeping franchise. I know how to do it,
right,
and so I didn't do it the way they're doing it. I'm gonna do it my way. Well, when people get crossways in that model, it's because they don't use that model.
Okay.
And so that can lead to problems in being successful. So what I would submit, a better way to approach that would be, if you're good at you're very detail oriented, or you're very number oriented, find a franchise where the owners of the business who are detail oriented and number oriented are successful in that business, and look at that business, because at that point you're going to be willing to learn, and you may be comfortable. You don't know what you don't know, and so therefore you're going to accept the model and learn the model and use the model.
So when you go into a franchise, you want to, you're paying for this advice, you want to take it. One thing is you need to be able to maybe not always be the chief and sometimes be the Indian and kind of learn from the franchise, or?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of buying two things at a high level. You're buying the system and the business and learning the system and business, and you're buying the support from the franchisor and the franchisees that can help you be successful. And so those are two really important things when you're looking at opportunity.
And I'm going to throw out some right now. What is one business that you would never thought of it could be franchisable that is franchised now?
Wow. You know, the business, there was a business that they actually towed ships or boats. Mm-hmm. Like if you got stuck on Lake Travis or Canyon Lake, they would come out and tow you in and make sure that you got back to shore. And I never would have thought.
Yeah, there's lots of lakes around the U.S., around the world, and you have to look at specialized insurance, specialized equipment, and all this stuff that somebody has worked out in the past. And you can just hop into that, and that's kind of something if somebody wanted to be kind of outdoors and have a franchise in, right?
Yeah, that would be a great business for a person like that.
I would have never thought of that, but that's why they, Scott, that's why they call you. That's why you're the expert in franchise for the San Antonio area. How far do you reach out? Sounded like you had clients in Florida.
Yeah, actually, I can help people throughout the U.S. My territory, so to speak, is Texas, but I can help someone in Chicago if they want my help, and I can help them.
So is there an initial consultation fee? What is there? How do they start working with you?
Actually, there's no cost for my time to work with people.
Okay.
The way that I get compensated is like an executive recruiter. If they find a business, that business pays me a finder's fee, and that fee doesn't change the fees they normally pay.
So there's no cost, no obligation to visit with Scott Kidd at the Entrepreneurial Source. I think it's fascinating. How can we franchise this radio show here?
Well, if you can systematize it and help other people to know how to do the presentation.
And that's the whole thing. I mean, there is a lot of everything you do in life. Every business is a learning curve, and you should learn from people and not keep on making those mistakes. And that's why businesses fail so often. And that's what the case is for franchise. So Scott, thank you for being here today. And again, find us on our website at jamesduerr.com, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.